Great. Welcome to Accessible Video and Slide Decks by Digital Accessibility by WeCo. The information found in this presentation includes tips based upon the experiences and opinions of Digital Accessibility by WeCo staff and should not be construed as legal advice. Regarding the development and implementation of digital accessibility practices, it is advisable to seek the advice of qualified legal counsel. The information in this presentation is the property of the Wehrman Collaborative, LLC. Please ask us before distributing this information by contacting us at accessinfo@theweco.com. Thank you. And just a quick accessibility note, this presentation includes audio description for non-visual users as part of the narration. And this slide shows the title of the presentation and includes WeCo's logo and the International Association of Accessibility Professionals member logo. The WeCo logo is repeated on most slides in this presentation. Your instructors for today will be Tyler Malone, an accessibility specialist here at WeCo, and myself. My name is Ellen DeCesar, and I'm a communications coordinator at WeCo. But first, I'd like to go over a little bit about who we are. WeCo's a digital company. WeCo's a company of digital accessibility professionals with a mission, putting you in touch with subject matter experts or SMEs who live with disabilities. We are members of the International Association of Accessibility Professionals, IAAP, and provide our own rigorous training requirements for our people. This slide shows the IAAP logo. It also shows a WeCo accessibility specialist using screen magnification software in an accessibility audit with the words because simulations can't replace human experience. And a little bit about what we do. WeCo offers manual accessibility audit services that can help your team understand which areas of your project do not meet accessibility requirements. We also provide customized recommendations on how to fix the issues. Our testing and recommendations are based on the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, also known as the WCAG. WeCo also offers usability testing services, which provide keen insights into how our testers living with disabilities view your project by having them complete tasks to verify that your website or software truly works for users living with disabilities. WeCo testers live with one or more disabilities that fall within at least one of the four primary disability groups: cognitive, mobility, hearing, and sight. WeCo offers various consulting packages and training options on topics relating to accessibility and usability. And finally, our WeCo University e-learning portal provides on-demand accessibility training courses for both individuals and enterprises. A few tips real quick to help our webinar go smoothly. If there's noise, remember to mute yourself. If there's noise coming from your microphone, our moderator will mute you. And if you wish to use the chat box, please be mindful that the drop-down designation for everyone will broadcast your comments to the entire room. If you wish to reach us for assistance, please select Stephanie, WeCo moderator. And but also please feel free to use the chat box if you have any questions, and we'll answer them at the end. Accessibility accommodations must be placed in advance through the registration process. So please note that we cannot fulfill accommodation requests placed today or through the chat box. Thank you for helping this webinar go smoothly. And a quick summary of what we'll be talking about today. First, we will talk about how we measure media accessibility. Then we will cover what captions, audio descriptions, and transcripts are. Next, we'll go over tips for accessible slide decks. And finally, we will provide some resources you can check out for more information about accessibility. And like I mentioned before, we'll take questions at the end of the webinar, but please feel free to enter questions into the chat at any time during the presentation. This slide includes a photo of 3 people listening to a presentation. All right, I'll go ahead and hand it over to you, Tyler, whenever you're ready.
All right. How we measure media accessibility. First, we're going to go over standards and laws that are used to measure media accessibility. Next slide. Before we jump into how to create accessible audio, video, and slide decks, it's important to understand why accessible multimedia matters. First, Creating accessible multimedia means that everyone, including those of us living with disabilities, has equal access to media content. Creating accessible digital media content is also the law in many places, including the US. The Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, rules that any area that is available for public use, including websites, must be accessible to people living with disabilities. The Rehabilitation Act of 1973, often referred to as Section 508, also requires equal access to government resources. This slide shows a gavel resting on a block. Next slide. For more specific guidance concerning media accessibility, the Worldwide Web Consortium, the W3C, developed the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, or WCAG. The WCAG provides specific standards for improving digital accessibility for users living with disabilities. Although it isn't the law, the WCAG is regarded as a highly reliable set of standards for web accessibility. There are several success criterion that pertain to media accessibility. For example, success criterion 1.2.1 dictates that information conveyed by pre-recorded video without sound is provided in an alternative format. Success criterion 1.2.2 dictates that captions are provided for all pre-recorded video with audio content. Other WCAG standards related to media accessibility include captions are provided for all live audio content, an alternative for time-based media or audio description of pre-recorded video content is provided for synchronized video content. That is a mouthful. Audio description is provided for all pre-recorded video content. Without a lot of prior accessibility knowledge, these success criterion can seem intimidating or be difficult to follow. In the next part of this webinar, we will go over the basics of media accessibility that you can follow to ensure you meet the requirements of essential WCAG criterion. This slide shows the W3C logo. Next slide. Next, we're going to talk about the essential components of multimedia accessibility, including captions, transcripts, and audio descriptions. Next slide. Captions are a text version of the audio content in a video, including speech and any meaningful sound effects. Captions are overlaid on top of videos to make them accessible to people living with hearing disabilities, as well as some cognitive disabilities. Captions should be available on all videos with audio, both live and pre-recorded. Live audio-only content should also include captions. On this slide, we're showing the definition of captions next to a person cupping their hand next to their ear. Next slide. When adding captions to video, make sure that they are human-reviewed or human-written. While automated captions can be helpful for live videos, such as what we use in this video, the Zoom video, pre-recorded videos shouldn't rely on AI or automation. Automated captions are often inaccurate, include grammatical errors, and misspell proper nouns like names and organizations. To get an idea of what I mean, let's take a look at a video that's automatically captioned with no editing.
I'm going to switch over the screen share real quick to that video. All right. And let me know if you can't hear the video.
WeCo helps organizations make their websites, software, learning platforms, and mobile applications accessible to people with disabilities and compliant with accessibility laws. The services we offer include manual accessibility audits, usability testing, training for website and software accessibility, as well as workplace accommodation and sensitivity training.
I switch back to the slide deck 1 minute. Here we go. All right. Go ahead, Tyler.
Okay, ready for the next slide?
Yep.
Cool. All right, for people who rely on captions, the video we just viewed would be very frustrating to watch. The errors make the video difficult to understand. Now let's take a look at the same video, but now the captions have been human reviewed and edited. You will find this video's captions to be much easier to understand.
All right, back over to show another video.
WeCo helps organizations make their websites, software, learning platforms, and mobile applications accessible to people with disabilities and compliant with accessibility laws. The services we offer include manual accessibility audits, usability testing, training for website and software accessibility, as well as workplace accommodation and sensitivity training.
All right. I will go back to the slide deck now. All right, go ahead, Tyler.
All right, we're on 15, right?
Yep, on what are transcripts?
Cool, thanks. All right, next, let's talk about transcripts. There are two types of transcripts, basic transcripts and descriptive transcripts. Basic transcripts are generally used for audio-only content, such as podcasts. Like captions, they are a text version of audio content. They include both speech and any meaningful sound effects or music. Descriptive transcripts, on the other hand, are used for videos with sound. Descriptive transcripts include text versions of all meaningful audio, so everything that would be in the previous category, and then also descriptions of what is happening visually. By including a text version of what is happening visually, in addition to audio, we ensure accessible audio for both those with limited vision and limited hearing. Transcripts can be provided in different ways. They can be included in surrounding body text, within a collapsed region that users can expand, or through a link either to another page or to a downloadable document. Pre-recorded videos with audio should include a descriptive transcript. Live and pre-recorded media that is either audio only or video only should include a basic transcript. On this slide, we're showing a screenshot of the previous video we watched with human reviewed captions. To the right of the video, the basic transcript is displayed. A descriptive transcript would include a description of the visuals shown in the video. Next slide. Now we'll talk about audio description. Audio description is when a narrator verbally describes what's happening visually in a video. My verbal description of the image on a previous slide is a brief example of an audio description. Audio descriptions can be fit into the main video itself during pauses and dialogue. They can be provided as a separate audio track, or they can be provided in an alternate version of the video that includes audio description as well as all original sound. Audio descriptions allow people who can't see all of the visual content to know what's happening in the video. Without audio description, those of us with visual disabilities won't have the same access to the video content as people without visual disabilities. Let's watch the recording of the previous WeCo webinar that includes audio descriptions as an example.
Here is the audio description example video.
As we approach alt text, it's crucial to keep in mind that all human beings learn in different ways. And regardless of if we're able to use our eyes fully or in part, or if we have difficulty taking in information visually, as many of us with cognitive disabilities do, visual information is impactful and important to all of us. This slide shows some open paint tins, brushes, color swatches representing brilliant colors.
Back over to the PowerPoint. All right, and then I will take over from here. Thank you, Tyler. The last thing we'll go over today is how to create accessible slide decks. Slide decks are visual presentations that provide us with opportunities to enhance how people learn through images, abbreviated descriptions, preferably video and audio. Slide decks are commonly created through programs such as Microsoft PowerPoint or Google Slides. And this slide shows an image of a computer screen with a slide deck presentation title slide. The secret to slide deck accessibility is first, using the existing structure within the slide instead of removing them. For instance, don't gut the slide by removing and adding text boxes to create a different look. Instead, use the icons in the existing text boxes to add features like videos, charts, and images. And lastly, be sure to also add alternative text to any objects or images that you include that are not text. Creating accessible slide decks is especially important to people living with visual disabilities because inaccessible slide decks won't communicate correctly with screen readers. Many people with visual disabilities use screen readers to listen to visual content on computers and phones. When slide decks are formatted incorrectly, people who use screen readers will miss important content included within the slide deck. And to wrap up, to show a visual example of that, let's view a video we shot of an inaccessible slide deck template that was created for us by our graphic artist. It will demonstrate what can go wrong and how to make it right when creating slide deck presentations that are accessible. This video demonstrates actions taken to correct an inaccessible PowerPoint. It's captioned through Zoom but does not contain audio description, so please let us know if you need further explanation after the video concludes. And I will switch over to that video real quick so we can take a look at how to create an accessible slide deck. One moment. Okay. There we are.
Welcome to a WeCo Accessibility Services quick tip video on what makes PowerPoints accessible and inaccessible to non-visual users. Today we're using a template that was created for us by our graphic artist to ensure that what we create blends with our visual brand. But what our graphic artist did not realize when she created the template, that she was essentially removing all of the elements that would make the template accessible to non-visual users by making it visually pleasing. There is actually a way that you can do both, and we're going to talk about that today. So when we take a look at this, we're looking at what looks like a headline and a subhead and a footer. And then we're also looking at some visual accent elements that contains our tagline, accessible, aware, independent, with small dots at the bottom. And then we're also looking at our logo. And the way that you can tell whether or not you're making a PowerPoint accessible is really not very hard at all. If you just go into the View section of your PowerPoint and select Outline View, it will show you what is actually built into the code. Okay, so on this particular slide, what we have, this is one that we've actually done some work in, is that we have the footer showing up, because what we have done is inserted a formal box that, well, used the box for the layout that already exists. So what we're talking about when we do that is when you go into Home and you go into Layout. You notice that this one is Title and Content. So what we've done is that we've used a content box here to add in our logo through the option for adding a visual, and we've added the footer in to the formal content box, so that when we click on this, you can see that we were able to add the alternative text tag there that shows up, and that we're also able to have the footer pick up in the outline view. So let's go on to the next slide. So we go on to the next slide, and when we look at this here, we see that there is nothing picking up. And that is because what oftentimes happens is that graphic artists get very, very used to basically going here and saying, okay, I want to make this look a certain way. I'm going to insert a text box. And so that's what they do. And they can take that text box and expand it to whatever size they want, and they can type what they want into it, and they can select that. Move that up a little bit so you can see it. They can select that text and say, okay, let's go ahead and make this look like a title. So we're going to want it to be 48, and let's say we want it to be bright orange. And that is how they're doing that. And this stuff is not actually picking up when you go and look at the outline view. So the easiest way that you can do this, and sometimes this is something when we get a product like this from our graphic artist, then we pretty much always know that we're going to have to go in and fix the whole thing for accessibility, is that all you have to do is just go into the Home tab and go to Layout and go, okay, well, what represents this slide? Well, this really looks like it is going to be, you know, you can decide whatever it is you need. Is it going to be a section header? Is it going to be a title slide? We're going to call this one a title slide. And then what you can do is, I usually just click that out of the way, and you can cut it, and you can paste it right in there, and bingo, there it shows up. So, and then also we've done a little bit of advanced work on this. We went in and added alternative text tags for these as well. But you can see that that is basically the work that sometimes you have to do, because graphic artists are really concerned with the visual, and many are just not versed in digital accessibility, nor is it what they do every day or think about every day. So that's just one way that we cope with inaccessible PowerPoint presentations here at WeCo. I hope that is helpful to you. If you would like more assistance with accessible documents or PowerPoint presentations, you can reach out to us at our website anytime at theweco, THEWECO.com, or 855-849-5050 extension 1. And our accessible document specialists at WeCo are always happy to help, either with conversion, with training, with consulting. We're here to help you. Thank you.
All right, so hopefully that video helped give you a bit of a visual example of how to create accessible slide decks. I will share the PowerPoint one more time. All right, at this time, we'd like to open things up for questions and discussion. Does anyone have anything they'd like to ask about accessible video and slide decks? And Stephanie, are there any questions in the chat box that we can answer?
I don't see any questions at this time, but I'll wait a couple minutes here to see if any questions come in.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah. Any questions about audio description, captions, transcripts, when to use each one, or how to create accessible slide decks? Feel free to, you can also unmute and ask if you'd prefer that, or we said send them in the chat box.
I have a question. This is Ryan from
Yeah.
San Diego. So the way to use text boxes properly in PowerPoint is to use the master slide text boxes that are already set up. Is that what I'm gathering?
Yep. So by using the templates that you are able to add, that's the best way to get images and text boxes, that those will show up in the outline, which means they're accessible for people using screen readers or other assistive technology, so they'll be able to find those.
So a lot of the slide content that I develop or that I have to work with, oftentimes there is not a master slide text box, or there aren't enough. Like I have to create more than what's already in the master slide template. Is it possible to copy and paste the master slide text boxes to create more? Or because normally you don't add content in a master slide, you add it in the actual slide.
Yeah, so I believe there is a way to edit the master slide deck if you have a template you use. As far as adding more text boxes to the template, I believe copying and pasting the text boxes within the slide deck should work, although I'm not positive. Tyler, do you know more about that?
I actually do not. I don't build a lot of slide decks.
Yeah, because we have a lot of content sometimes on a given slide with like a chart, and then we need to add, you know, text boxes to make the chart or infographic more understandable. I'm just wondering how we would make that work for screen readers, because I don't think it's feasible to do all of that on a master slide text box. Maybe in that case, we'd have to add alt text.
Yep, if you add in images, it's you should always include alt text. Let me see.
And do you have a demonstration on how to add alt text to images or best practices for that?
Yeah, so you can, to add alt text to images in PowerPoint, if you right click on the image, you can click view alt text. And actually, I will see, it might be good to show you how that works. I'll stop sharing for a second and go into this slide deck. I can show you how to view the alt text. One moment while I get that up real quick. All right, so if you right click on this image here and click view alt text, it'll come up with that you can edit. It'll usually generate some automatic alt text, but that's usually not very reliable. And while we're here,
I like how it gives you prompts too.
yeah, for sure. I will take a look to see about if you copy and paste these. Oops. Oops. That. And then we can check that by going into review, outline view, like we showed in the video. And it looks like it just shows the first. So copying and pasting does not work. So the
Do we have
only
to change
would be
do we have to change one of them to see, or you can see just because it doesn't show two tests?
so because it doesn't show the two tests, then that means that the other one is not showing up. So in order to change that, you can go into slide master view and edit and add however many text box you need. Other than that, I think that's the only way to make sure screen readers can pick it up. But if
I'll do some testing.
yeah, that would be good. If I learn more, I will make sure to reach out to you and let you know. But for now, I think editing that slide master.
And maybe one workaround is just putting a bunch of text boxes on a master slide, and you can have more than enough in case you need them.
Yeah, that might be a good workaround. And then I saw there are a couple of other questions in the chat box, so to make sure we hit those, I'll
Yep, I can read out. So from Arnaud, if we have captions and transcripts, do we still need audio descriptions?
Tyler, did you want to go ahead and answer that one while I get the slide show back up? Thanks.
Yeah, so those are separate success criterion for WCAG. So if you're going for WCAG compliance, they are set at different levels, AA, AA, and AAA. So if you are going for compliance at WCAG 2.2 level AA, you're going to look at the ones that are covered by that and comply with those. Generally speaking, WeCo likes to recommend that you provide all of them as alternatives because they do service different groups. Some of them have overlap, that's true, but it's always best to provide the highest level of accessibility for each user group.
All right. Thank you.
All right, next question is regarding accessible videos. Oh, this is from Rachel Wang. Regarding accessible videos, do you have any tips or insights regarding accessible video overlays? For example, play buttons, banners.
Would this be like within the player to control it?
Hi, this is Rachel. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, this would be in the player. My organization, some of the designers want to have like an overlay in the player before you click on the video that has like a caption and like a custom play button, and we're obviously looking into like color contrast and other WCAG success criteria, but just wondering if you've any knowledge about best practices for something like that. Thanks.
Yeah, for something like that, I haven't seen something like that done, so this is going to be just off of theory knowledge. But I would just say make sure that it's make sure it's focusable, interactable. Make sure that your play button's labeled, that the text on your banner is programmatically associated so that screen readers can read it. There isn't really an issue as long as you code it in such a way that when you trigger it, it behaves the same way as a play button or as any other banner with content. So it might be something where your specific use case has some wonky stuff, but in a general sense, yeah, you would just make sure that when the screen reader enters the focus area, that it hits that first, since it's an overlay, so it's the first thing you want them to see. And then you would want to make sure that the other controls are still focusable and operable.
Great, thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, next question is from Nicole. Wouldn't the content of each slide be accessible if you can tab through them in order? If you can do that, would it show up in an outline in order? And to add to my question, wouldn't being able to tab through in order mean a screen reader would read in that order?
I believe to answer your second question, yes, if you're tabbing through in order, that should mean that the screen reader would read it in that order. I think the exception might be for slide decks. On some slides, like actually the next one here, it will typically have the title first. I'm not sure if that's the case with screen readers, but on the outline view, your next steps on this slide would be the name of the slide, and then free resources and more would be a subtitle listed on that. Yeah, Tyler, I don't know if you know does it read the title first on your screen reader or
Yeah, so like when I scroll through the outline, the first thing it reads is like slide number title.
Okay. That is good to know. And to answer your first question, if you tab through them in order, would it show up in the outline in order? I believe that's the case, although I'm not quite sure about. Let me see if you have like a text box that you just insert that, if you can tab to that, and even if it doesn't show up in the outline, I will look into that now. Oops. So it looks like I just checked it on the slide deck, and you can tab through on the slide deck and it will select it, but it doesn't show up in the outline view, which I believe means that if a screen reader, if user were to select it with a screen reader, it should read it out. It just won't come up if they want the overall view of the PowerPoint. So if they want to see like the general outline to see what's on each slide deck, it wouldn't show up there. Any other questions before we move on to some more free resources you can use from WeCo?
I don't see any more questions in the chat box, so if anybody wants to ask any questions, feel free. Otherwise, I think we can move on.
All right, I will move on to other resources, but if anybody has any questions, feel free to stop me or send them in the chat box. Oops. A couple of upcoming events. We have WordPress accessibility webinar on Thursday, December 14th, 2023. So that will be at 12:30 p.m. CST, and you can sign up for that on Eventbrite. And we also have an Accessibility Twin Cities meetup called Deep Dive into Focus Styles coming up on Monday, November 27th, 2023. And that is at 5:30 p.m. CST. So for more information about upcoming webinars, you can take a look at the weco.com/accessibility webinars. We are also pleased to announce that expanded versions of our webinar classes like this one are available on our WeCo University Accessible e-learning portal. If you're interested, you can contact WeCo Client Relations at accessinfo@theweco.com to learn more. And if you'd like to learn more from WeCo, please visit us on the web at theweco.com. Our website includes a free accessibility library and events page, which includes information on all of our upcoming webinars, workshops, meetups, and other events, blog posts on a variety of accessibility topics, and more. And WeCo also provides you with free and easy ways to stay on top of accessibility, our accessibility blog email series. A few times each month you'll be notified of our latest blog entries related to accessibility and how people living with disabilities interact with IT. Our accessibility blog entries cover everything from the accessibility experiences of our staff and testers living with disabilities to the latest legislative updates. And please feel free to reach out to WeCo's Clients Relations team with questions at any time. Again, that email's accessinfo@theweco.com, or you can also call us at 855-849-5050, extension 1. And thank you for joining us today. We've enjoyed sharing this time with you. And if there aren't any other questions, I believe we can stop the recording, Stephanie.
Yay.